a la que envidio a la generación de mis padres que pudieron presenciar en real time cómo el hombre pisaba la luna, pues hay que agradecerles lo que hicieron, porque eran valientes. Subirte en un cacharro, no sé si esto lo sabes, yo soy apasionado por el espacio, por lo tanto, cuando se subieron, las posibilidades de volver con éxito eran del 50%. O sea, te subes a un cacharro, que es como una bomba, y la mitad de las posibilidades es que la palmes. Y te subes. Hay que tener un coraje, hay que tener un carácter tremendo. Por lo tanto, cuando se suba al escenario Buzz, por favor, os pido a todos un aplauso enorme. Y bueno, tanto Movistar como Campus Party y las instituciones que nos ayudan a hacer esta campus, estamos no emocionados, más de tenerle aquí. Os agradezco a todos que estéis con nosotros en este escenario, que verlo es algo inimaginable. Y os pido a todos un aplauso enorme para Buzz y para Juan y Movistar, que han hecho posible esta Campus Party, por favor. Bueno, Juan, tus palabras y lanzamos vídeo.
Ah, vale, perfecto. Antes me preguntabas si yo me acordaba cuando fueron a la luna, ¿no? Algo así. La verdad es que sí, lo vi en televisión. Yo soy de un pueblecito muy pequeño de España, muy pequeñito, y entonces habían solo en el pueblo 4 televisiones en blanco y negro. Y nos juntamos los de la misma calle a ver la televisión ahí. Ha cambiado esto un poquito, ¿verdad? Increíble. Pues así es. Ya dentro vídeo. Muchas gracias a todos y dentro vídeo.
In this decade and do the other thing, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I'd like to trace through a little bit for you development that has taken place in the food department. In fact, on this flight, we've carried along pieces of bread. Along with the bread, we have a ham of bread.
GNC, go. Econ, go. Surgeon, go. Capcom, we're go for landing.
Eagle Houston, you're go for landing, over. Roger, go for landing, 3,000 feet. like it, tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Yeah, they'll step off the limb now. That's one small step for man. One giant leap for mankind. Partially closed that. Making sure not to lock it on my way out. That's our home for the next couple hours. We want to take good care of it. Beautiful view. Magnificent desolation. Now we'll get to the details of what's around here, but it looks like a collection of just about every variety of shape, angularity, granularity, but every variety of rock you could find. Because of what you have done, the heavens have become a part of man's world. For one priceless moment in the whole history of man, all the people on this earth are truly one. This is Houston. You have approximately 3 minutes until you must commence your EVA termination activity. Roger, understand. Tranquility Base, Houston. You're cleared for takeoff. Roger, understand. We're number 1 on the runway. We've come to the conclusion that this has been far more than 3 men on a voyage to the moon. More still than the efforts of a government and industry team. More even than the efforts of one nation. We feel that this stands as a symbol of the insatiable curiosity of all mankind to explore the unknown.
We set sail on this new sea because there is new knowledge to be gained and new rights to be won, and they must be won and used for the progress of all people. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win.
We do these things not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Buenos dias, Mexico City. I want to thank Future Networks for having me speak at your campus party today. First Brazil, and now Mexico City, maybe the United States next. You young people are indeed the future. We need your new ideas, energy to fuel the innovation And I think it's important to channel your energy to figure out how best to apply the successful choices, your choices, in the future. But it's also important to take risks. It takes courage. It takes courage to take risks, but the rewards can be great. Timing is very important. It has always been a key element in my life. I've been very blessed to have been in the right spot at the right time. And now it's Mexico City. But education, a strong work ethic, a supportive family, and a sense of adventure were also important factors in my life. I am proud to have served my country, both in the United States Air Force and in the Apollo program. I like being a team player. When people work together, you can sometimes accomplish the impossible. But before I get ahead of myself, let me tell you a little bit about my grand adventure, which never could have happened without the cooperation and efforts of many people working together toward a shared goal. And then I'll give you a glimpse of what I think we should be doing in the future. Mankind has dreamed for centuries of reaching space, the moon, and even the stars. But it wasn't until the 20th century that man took his first powered flight. In 1903, on a windy morning at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, the Wright brothers flyer took their first flight defying gravity. My mother, Marion Moon, was born that same year. Only 66 years later, Neil and I stepped on the moon, fulfilling the dreams of millions. And this is my story of how we got there, and how when a team works well together, the world can achieve the next impossible dream. I took my first flight at age 2 with my father, Edwin Eugene Aldrin. He was an engineer and an aviation pioneer, a friend of Charles Lindbergh, Orville Wright, Howard Hughes, many people. That time, we flew in a Lockheed Vega single-engine plane, painted red to look like an eagle, the symbol of our country in America. The name of the spacecraft, Eagle, that we chose to land on the moon. Surrounded by the influence of aviation, I entered the United States Air Force after graduating from the military academy at West Point. And here I am during a photo opportunity. He wasn't flying with me. That's my father. He was also in the Air Force many years in the reserve at the end of World War I, and he was involved in World War II. And this was the occasion where I received my Air Force pilot wings. My father was a civilian aviation manager of the Standard Oil Company of New Jersey, where he directed the aviation division. He later became the manager of Newark Airport, New Jersey, where I was born. He also worked as a consultant to the manned Spacecraft Center for the Safety Director at NASA. After training, I was in the Korean War as a jet fighter pilot, where I flew 66 combat missions in the F-86 Sabre jet, shot down 2 enemy MiG-15 aircraft. Following the Korean War, I was stationed in Germany. I'd been briefly at the Air Force Academy and other places, but I was stationed in Germany when Sputnik went over. We were flying supersonic F-100s in the late 50s. The Cold War between the Soviet Union and the United States was escalating and the tensions were high. In October of 1957, we went on alert with nuclear weapons on the aircraft. But while I was stationed in Germany, the Soviet Union pulled off a sudden and unexpected technological feat. They launched Sputnik into orbit. And in response, a year later, America formed NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, with the goal of reaching space. The space age was born and the space race was about to begin. On April 12th, 1961, the Soviets made an incredible achievement by sending the first human into space, cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin, for 1 full orbit around the Earth. In response, only a few weeks later, NASA launched its first Mercury astronaut, Alan Shepard, on only a 15-minute suborbital flight that barely touched the edge of space. It was impressive, but we all wondered, what's coming next? President John F. Kennedy asked NASA and the engineers and rocket scientists led by Wernher von Braun what was possible. And they told him that it would take at least 15 years before we could put a man on the moon. Instead of accepting what was possible, on May 25th, just 3 weeks after Alan Shepard's suborbital flight, President Kennedy boldly challenged America to commit to the goal of landing a man on the moon before the end of the decade. We'd not even put a man into orbit. The rockets and spacecraft needed to go beyond Earth orbit didn't exist. Many thought the challenge was impossible. We just didn't have the know-how. But we did have a leader with the vision and the determination, the courage, the confidence that we could get there. By publicly stating our goal and putting a specific time period on a very specific accomplishment, President Kennedy gave us no back door. We either had to do it or fail. And none of us were interested in failing. If space was going to be our next frontier, then I wanted to be a part of getting there. So after I completed my tour of duty in Germany, I decided to continue my education at the same place that my father got his doctor's degree. I applied for a doctor's degree in astronautics at MIT. For my thesis, I adapted my experience as a fighter pilot intercepting enemy aircraft to devise a technique by step eliminating the variables and then making an intercept. I devised a technique for 2 spacecraft to meet in space called manned orbital rendezvous. Little did anyone know, including me, how critical this work would later become to our successfully